Hello again. This is, well, I'm not going to say my name for protection purposes, but anyway, this is from the UMPF. We are currently suffering support. I see that the group in my town right now is lacking in efficiency and faith. I believe that they don't no longer see the dream which I see as I see, hear as I hear, and speak as I speak, and you will understand the dream and live forever in the history of man. Conquer the world with me, and you conquer immortality. There are times when heroes are born, there are times when tyrants are to rule, and there are times when dreamers are to dream, and there are times when the people must choose. Are they dreamers? Are they tyrants? Or are they heroes? It is by my personal belief that these three are the people that make the true difference. Everyone has a purpose. Many attempt to achieve, but they die. Few achieve and receive glory and satisfaction. Sure, they die after they achieve it, but they achieved it knowing that they did it, and it will not hinder them no longer. First thing of business, once the nationalist agenda has hit the White House or government, or has occurred into the Ohio Governor John Kasich, hopefully the United States can focus more on the personal matters for the people. Since we cannot sustain ourselves any longer, it is time for us to take for ourselves. What I'm saying and suggesting is that it's time to take over. The islands that cannot function primarily, or they're little to no use, they should be taken by the United States. They should be annexed, so we can use their resources and use it as a base of operations, depending if you want to take over the rest, but you have to worry about all the other powers. But that is my suggestion so far. If our population keeps booming like this, then we have no choice but to start a war, start our little personal war. And war isn't inevitable. If our leaders cannot do anything, then that is the only answer. That is what the nationalists are crying for. We cannot push west no more as we did back after the war for independence. We cannot push west no more. We can push north into Canada, but then what point is that there? There's little to no economical importance. The only way we can get ourselves on track is to take the countries that have economical importance. That is why the United States should invade Cuba, not only to liberate it, but to let the people do as they choose, as of laissez-faire, and to ensure better relations with the Cuban people and the American people. But no one's that hasty now, since you have to wipe out Iran, North Korea, China. Those are the three we must look out for. North Korea and China have nuclear superiority, but, well, not superiority, weaponry. But Iran or Iraq, I really don't know. Yeah, they're both in the same, around the same place. They are getting nuclear arsenals up and ready. If we cannot do nothing, then we will face annihilation, and the American people will face extinction. And another thing, since when has it become the primal concern of leaders arming rebels? Sure, it's become a little bit helpful in the past, but that was different. No one is crazy like now. Why would someone, well, I don't know if the United States has ever looked at history, but ever since the Persian Gulf, there's a lot of wars in the Middle East, and that is usually over religion and terrorist attacks. I say this as a response to the suggestion of arming rebels in Syria. Don't do it. We have enough problems with Iran and Afghanistan and Kuwait. We have enough with those jihadists. We have enough problems with them. If you arm them, then you are not my leader. I pledge not my allegiance not to you, but to America. You are not America. America is the Statue of Liberty on Manhattan Island. But no, else one of those islands. But the government wants your allegiance, your obedience, your love, and your loyalty only to them. Only to them. That is why we must unite. Isn't it not that the Pledge of Allegiance says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the flag, not to the man or woman, but you get the picture. We give our love and loyalty and allegiance not to our country, but to the men that represent us. Our representatives, our leaders, our very own protectors betray us for personal ambition and financial ambition. That is why it's time for nationalism to rise, and for the people to arise from the ashes from whence they were burned and cast out by the Republican and Democratic parties from their influence. That is why we must stop this. It's time for us to become a democratic sovereignty. A republic is a good thing, but if you allow the people to abuse the system, then there's a crack in the system. It is no longer useful. That is why we need to model ourselves after the Romans. They were a republic, but when the leaders were out of town or something had happened to them, a tyrant or dictator would take charge. The very first of these was Cincinnatus. But everybody views democracy as a government for the free peoples, and dictators as tyrants, enemies of the people. Which is why I ask of you, fellow patriots, who also believe in this cause, whether or not you believe this is or is not a fallen cause or a fallen or broken dream, join us and do this. We are doing this not for a lost cause, but for a probable, feasible, and winnable cause. I say this to you. Join us. You will be legends, not only in the eyes and the hearts, the minds, and the souls of the people, but to those in the world, and not only to those in the world, but to history. Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Caesar, Gaius, something like that. Some Gaius, I don't know, I can't remember. Washington, Lincoln, Saladin, Richard the Lionheart, Castro, Hussein, Obama, Bush. You will be remembered even better than these, even greater than Alexander the Great, even more probable than Obama, even more successful than Caesar, more you will be immortal, not to the minds of those that you inspire, but immortal in the books of history and time, as we progress and progress onto millennia, maybe even farther than that. Stories will be told. Rules are broken, rules which are meant to be broken, but there's always a time for everything, a time for everything to become anew. What I destroy, I make anew. But I say this: history is not written by only the victors, but only the strong, the just, the courageous, the brutal, and the merciful. These are the virtues you must follow in order to be remembered in history, but not only history, but in the hearts of those that follow your example, and to the people that see you. That is what I teach, my philosophy I teach, my own philosophy. As the French have laissez-faire, and then the Socratic method and all that, I have my very own. I haven't thought of a name for it right now, but yeah, a lot better than the Nazi ideology, that's for sure. Racism, really? It hasn't helped anyone before. It hasn't helped the United States one bit. That is why I ask the American people to join us. Again, as I said, again and again. If you don't join us, well, then think rationally, basically. How can this nation recover if we do another civil war like back in the time of Lincoln, when he tried to free the slaves? If we have a civil war in this time right now, it'll be even worse, since we have the greatest weapons known to man: more deaths. But not only that, our enemies like China and Korea and Iran will take us from our backside and kill us, and then take us over, and the United States is no more. That is why it is time to strike. It is time to stand up for ourselves. Do not help others if you get nothing in return. You should never do that, even though it's good, but to another person, not to another country. That is all I ask, really. Show this true nationalism by putting only the needs of the America and the American people first, and then those of the other nations. But before you put things of America and her people first, you must put things of God first. Sure, some of you that are watching this are probably atheists or Muslims or anything, but still, always put the Lord, your God, first, and then the needs of America and her people, and then your family, and then education, and so on and so forth, to the last thing, it is the other countries. It is not our fault that the nations and other places, such as, for example, Africa, cannot sustain themselves. It is because they lack fundamental influence, audacity, courage, charisma. South Africa, I haven't paid attention to that in a long time, but it was doing pretty good when Nelson Mandela was trying to, well, I forget what he was doing, but he was trying to do it for a good cause. In prison for 29 or 28 years. That's probably what's going to happen to us, since the government is being getting more powerful and more scared of its people. The government wants you to see what it wants you to see, what it hears, what it wants you to hear, and wants you to say what it wants you to say. That is why they have news channels such as CNN and Fox News. It is the government's propaganda machine. They don't want to tell you the deeply bad stuff, they want to tell you the good stuff, because if they tell you the bad stuff, then it will make you scared. And they use that fear, they utilize that fear to make us, the common man, the common people, to run to them for protection. But for the government to protect us, we must give up our personal rights in return for protection, which American people should not do. That is what happened with Britain, and that's why we led the war to independence. This is all I'm asking. Do this, and you will be with me in history. But not only in history, but in the minds, the hearts, and the souls of your family, your friends, and peers. That is all I have to say for now.